Optional rule changes. Law changes. It's a bit of a weird one. World Rugby, I think yesterday, kind of came out and said some potential law changes. There's a raft of them, which national unions may or may not choose to adopt. Largely, I think, to reduce the risk of spread of virus during the current times. But yeah, they've proposed a bunch of potential law changes, but left it up to each of the unions to decide whether they want to use them or not. As I said, it's a long list. If you want to go and check them out, I'll see if I can link the article down in the description, which lists all of them. I'll go over a few of the more interesting ones here. Some of them I think may be a bit more worthwhile than others, but yeah, we'll see what the kind of uptake is. Like, it's a weird one that you see kind of optional law changes. It's like if you got a speeding ticket and it was optional to pay it kind of thing, you know what I mean? I don't know, bit weird, but is what it is. Strange times we live in. The first one, the one that I think maybe gives me the most interest, and I kind of dislike. I'm just going to close that curtain because boy, that is some bright sunlight. That's better. I'm kind of not a big fan of tinkering with the rules all the time because I think that's also what turns people off the game. If you're constantly trying to tinker with it to make it better, maybe that's also what kind of turns people off. But the idea of an orange card. Now, we're already familiar with red cards, yellow cards. Potentially the ref could have a third card in his pocket. I don't know any other sports that do an orange card, but I'll be happy to be corrected if there are other sports that have an equivalent to the orange card. The orange card would essentially only be available at the elite level. And when I mentioned these law changes were proposed, national unions can decide firstly whether to implement them yes or no, and then they can also decide at what level. So they could say, yep, these ones will go into club level, but for like Super Rugby level, we'll just use these ones kind of thing. So definitely very, very open in terms of what they want to adopt and what they don't want to adopt. But the orange card will only be available at the elite level because it involves the TMO. So most club rugby games tend to not have the TMO involved. But what it means is basically if a ref sees something, he thinks that could be a potential red or maybe just a yellow. What he can do, if he's confident that that's the correct ruling, it's definitely at least a yellow, maybe a red. He can give an orange card and give direction to the TMO. I want you to check it in more detail and decide whether it's yellow or whether it's red. Now, the reason that one, I think, despite the fact that I hate the idea of having another card and another thing to explain to a new rugby fan, like most people are pretty familiar with yellow and red. Having to explain orange doesn't thrill me. But what it might do is stop the 5-10 minute stoppage we get watching replay after replay after replay, angle after angle after angle, as the ref and the TMO together decide whether the contact was high or whether he fell on his neck or whether it was his shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff is painfully slow. It's also a reason that, you know, players can get as big as they are because you're pretty confident you're going to get quite a few stoppages. So you can bulk up a bit more because your overall fitness won't need to be as high because you're bound to get a few rests. Reducing that kind of stoppage, keep the play going, keep the guys running around, make them get a bit leaner, I don't think is a bad thing. Or at least, if you're not going to get the guys leaner, don't worry about that, you know, with all its connection to, you know, increased injury rates and whatnot, but make them tired. It's often the most exciting parts of the game when you see the subs come on 60, 65 minutes and fresh legs running against tired legs. You don't get tired legs as much when guys are standing, faffing about, watching the big screen for 10 minutes. So ref gives the card, tells the TMO what to look for. The guy is off for at least a yellow anyway. Get on with the game, and then the TMO can have a yarn with the ref later on. It's just a yellow, and he's going to come back on when his time's up. Or it's actually a red, he's going to stay off. That part I don't mind. Keep the game moving, basically. I mean, sometimes the ref and the TMO can't even bloody agree. You know what I mean? TMO will say, it's red, and then the ref will be like, oh, just show me that angle one more time. For goodness sake, man, get on with the game. So, yes, as much as I am not a fan of having a third card, I do think there is some merit in there. And for some reason, they've decided 15 minutes should be the time that they're off for the yellow instead of just 10. So a harsher punishment for yellow cards. Again, I kind of think 10 is simpler. It's easier to calculate in your mind. 10 minutes. So, yeah. But still, I think that one's got a little bit of a potential. Keep the game moving. I'm all for guys getting tired, opening up the game, scoring some tries. Yes. And if guys are a bit leaner, less huge, not getting as many concussions and big injuries, I'm also a fan of that. So, yeah. Just look at the games from the 80s and 90s, man. I know I'm sounding old, but in lockdown, I've been watching a lot of old games. The game used to be played at a hell of a quicker pace than it is today. Today is so stop-start. Anyway, I'm going on a bit of a rant. Scrum resets. This one I think is directly related to the spread of the virus, and it's basically that if the scrum, because I think the scientific reason was the longer you're exposed to somebody, the more likelihood you are to transmit any kind of virus. So, especially this one. So the thought is if the scrum goes down and it needs to be reset, you don't have the option to reset the scrum, actually. They're just going to give a free kick or a penalty. And the options from free kick or penalty is not to have another scrum. So it kind of sucks if you've got a dominant scrum and you're looking to get one of the other props yellow carded. So I'm not sure about this one in terms of the long term. I think maybe do that at club rugby level. Get on with the game. I know World Rugby is trying to kill the time wasted with scrum resets because they think that turns fans off. And again, it's more time standing around faffing about. But again, watch the 87 or 91 games. You see how long they took to set a scrum. Admittedly, it probably wasn't as safe as it is nowadays in terms of their technique, but they didn't muck around. Maybe they need a clock, a scrum clock. And if you're not ready to go by the time that scrum clock starts, then you're penalised. I don't know. I think there are better solutions than just you can't take another scrum. It seems to be penalising teams who have a big scrum. That's an integral part of rugby. You can have a crap team and you've got a really good scrum and you can win. A good scrum and a good goal kicker. I love the fact that that's a thing. Anyway, I'm going to be a bit ranty, it seems. Use it is another one that I kind of thought, come on, World Rugby. They're talking about reducing the use it time from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. You know, the ball's at the back of the ruck. They're mucking around. The ref calls use it. I don't think you need to change it if you start policing it, because when was the last time you ever saw someone got penalised or at least free kicked for not using the ball? It never happens. Even after they call use it, they get to faff about. It's like crooked feeds, right? They decide to police it for like 5 minutes and then never again for a long time. I know the refs don't want to interrupt the flow of the game. 5 seconds, 3 seconds is all the same if you don't actually police it. So anyway, again, keep better track of it like a clock. Basketball, I think they've got a shot clock, right? If the shot clock expires, you don't get a bit of leeway. Like if it's use it plus 2 seconds, you don't get a shot clock while you can go 2 seconds over. It's not a thing. Anyway, choke tackle, again, I think that one's probably more related to COVID, but also the stop-start nature of the game. They wouldn't allow choke tackles to stop play. It would just be a tackle, I guess, kind of like rugby league, and you'd have to release. I'm not sure. I haven't read the full implications of that one, but basically right now, if you can hold a guy up, then it's going to be a scrum. So they're trying to reduce the scrums in the games. Basically, seems to be their modus operandi. But yeah, other things are sensible. Hygiene regulations like no spitting, no blowing your nose on the field, all that kind of stuff seems sensible. There's other stuff as well, but these were kind of the main ones. The stuff around the maul, only getting one movement forward for the maul, not like, once and then you got to use it. So yeah, not being able to add more guys to the maul after it's going forward. There's a few rules they're proposing, but it seems mostly to reduce continuous contact between people. So sporadic contact is less dangerous. But all this being discussed, and New Zealand, who are probably going to be the first country to get the rugby union back underway, has said thanks but no thanks. We're not going to be adopting any of these rules. Our country is pretty clear of the virus, so yeah, we're not going to bother. And I think the Premiership's already come out and said when we get back underway, nah, you can keep your rule changes. So yeah, like I said, there's more. Check out the article. Other ones that you think might be interesting to change the game. Good ideas, bad ideas. Sorry, this one's a bit ranty. I don't know why. Sometimes World Rugby gets me a bit ranty. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. And I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.